Welcome back to Sunrise Daily, live here from our studios in Abuja. And we have been, well, at least I did some work setting up our next conversation. We're talking about the budget defense sessions going on at the National Assembly. And one thing that I heard Ayo say then, and is also tying into what we're going to be talking about, is the fact that all the agencies want more money. Is this a function of the economy? Is this a natural occurrence? And then, of course, the accountability part of that conversation. What are these monies used for? And can they be accounted in real time? Well, in one of the budget defense sessions, NASENI came into focus, and my guest on the program this morning had a lot to say about it. So let's hear from him directly. Joining us live in the studio, Honorable Alex Ikwechegh.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you on the program. Member of the House of Representatives, Abia North and South Federal Constituency.
Aba North and South.
Aba North and South.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
This is your first time here, isn't it?
This is my first time here in Channels Television.
Welcome.
I have friends, but I've never been invited. I was called, and today I'm here.
Welcome to the program. Well, before we start to talk about this, it would not be fair for us to have you here and not talk about something that a lot of people heard about you. That video that we saw sometime last year that caused a bit of a ruckus. Just to ask you what the status is on that and how have you been handling it?
Well, of course, you know what happened was quite unfortunate, but I take it that it's an avenue for me as a person to also build a relationship with the young man that came. Today we're friends. It was taken to court, but of course the court found no merits and it was struck out. The video that everybody saw, it was a low moment. I felt the sanctity of my home was being desecrated. Of course, the part of the video where you people saw, is the part that people saw. People actually do not know what happened before, that reaction. Like they say, action preempts reaction. But whatever anybody must have seen is not indicative of who I am. Of course, I've been in the public space for a very long time, and there has never been any scandal about me. However, the young man is my friend now. I'm very close to his bishop, his pastor, and I've made a bunch of new friends. And today, the whole Nigeria now knows me as the man that maketh things to decide.
The whole world knows you. It was on BBC,
CNN. What happened was, I think there was an MP that also had an issue with somebody in London that same day. It was on a Sunday night, I think on the 27th of October. So there was an MP in London that had a problem. So, on BBC, my face was there, the MP's face was there. They said, these one legislators are now shocking people, what is going on? But anyway, these things happened. And like I and the young man were friends. And, my colleagues, everybody's, I guess we've moved on. It's in the past now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let's talk about the budget defense sessions generally.
Yes.
You've been very well. We're talking about the NASENI one right now, but there's a lot that has been going on, and like my colleague in Lagos, I said everybody's asking for more money, and you've had issue with this even from the beginning of the process. Could you talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on the budget defense process at the National Assembly?
Well, before I even answer that question, I would like to just say something. I'm here in my own capacity. I'm not here in anybody's stead. I'm not here representing the parliament. I'm not here representing the speaker, the deputy speaker, or the chairman, House Committee on NASENI. I'm here as a concerned Nigerian. I'm here as someone who believes that the president means well for his people and wants to realize his agenda for the renewed hope. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Okay, the truth is, on the budget defense sessions that we had, or we've been having, I have a very big problem with the way the agencies approach the issue of budgeting. And like I always tell people, I think Nigerians should begin to truly embrace the concept of idealism and pragmatism. Shun mediocrity for meritocracy. Embrace rectitude and avoid ineptitude. One of my biggest problems is that every single agency that came to the National Assembly, at least the budget sessions that I attended, they all asked for more money. And, the question that is the million-dollar question that everybody gets to ask, that I keep asking is, what have you even achieved with all the monies that you have received in the past? And that's the same question that I asked the man in charge of NASENI. NASENI is an agency that was formed in 1992. And like as the name implies, it is supposed to foster innovation, supposed to partner with universities, engage in research, and identify indigenous ways for us to expand ourselves as a nation industrially. And you open up the budget proposal, and then you see all kinds of well put together budget line requests asking for billions and billions and billions of naira. And literally, what I believe, and that's why I said I'm not here representing anyone, is that these people do not yet understand the reason why some of these agencies were formed. Now, if you say that NASENI is supposed to help to expand on our Nigerians' capabilities to produce or to manufacture, what has NASENI manufactured? What have they produced? Ordinary power bank for an agency that has taken billions, hundreds of billions of naira. Power bank. We're about 200 million people, 200 and something million people in this country. The majority of us use phones. Imagine if NASENI just produces power bank that is produced by NASENI, and then it's maybe 50% cheaper than the regular power bank that you bring into this country. Imagine the type of revenue that they would have generated for the federal government. Everybody, literally state governors, local governments, National Assembly members, senators and House members, agencies are buying street lights, solar street lights every day. Solar street light has become quite, prevalent in our society today. Has NASENI produced one that we can say, okay, this is their product and it's cheaper? We don't have to import these things. We have to source dollars. We have to transfer dollars, going through the crucibles of sourcing dollars, transferring dollars, and traveling, spending money else and all that to bring in these things. Imagine if NASENI would produce in industrial scale streetlights that we would not only use here, but we will also export. These are some of the factors that will help to strengthen our economy.
You are alluding to some kind of misappropriation. I want to be able to look at your statement.
Right.
You said to get the Joint Senate and House of Representatives Committee on the National Agency for Science and Engineering and Infrastructure, NASENI, I had the privilege of moving the motion to investigate the agency's affairs over the past 5 years. You want to know what they've been doing?
Right.
For 5 years. I was deeply perplexed by the glaring, contrived line items presented in NASENI's budget defense, which appear to undermine the integrity of our renewed hope agenda and the current administration's belt-tightening initiatives. What were these line items?
Well, I don't have the paper here, but when you open up the budget proposal, you will see engagement of scientific personnel for infrastructural growth, 17 billion. Engagement for this and that, 10 billion, 15 billion. And it felt like, back in the days when we were young, you just go back to your home and tell your father, they said we should bring photosynthesis. And then you ask for money and you'll be given monies. My question is this, and the reason why I moved that motion, that the activities of NASENI should be holistically investigated, is to actually ascertain if the monies that we have been releasing, the appropriation that we have been making for NASENI, actually commensurates with the value that they have added for the Nigerian government, by extension for the Nigerian people. I strongly believe that it has not. Then again, it's not just NASENI. I would say if a preponderance of the agencies in this country are not doing the Nigerian people that much good. You see, it bothers me because people have this very sinister narrative about the National Assembly. They will tell you, National Assembly, we are the ones that are packing the whole money. We are the ones we live a certain lifestyle. We shouldn't even have vehicles, official vehicles to move around. But when you see the level of prodigality that exists in government, in day-to-day activities of government, total avoidance of frugality, then you begin to ask, when are these leakages truly going to be stopped? Because if you are running a country as ours, and your personnel and your personnel cost, your overhead cost is about 85% of your total budget, and then your capital is 20% or even less, how do we make progress like that? There's a sub-agency under NASENI that is stationed in Enugu. I've forgotten what its name is. SED, they always have these abbreviations, SEDC or something like that. Their overheads, their personnel cost for a year is 5 point something billion. One small agency in Enugu that is under NASENI. How do you even begin to explain that? For a country of 200 million people, today we're not, what are we producing? What are we exporting? How is our economy, how is our currency ever going to be strengthened when our capital is this minuscule and the overhead is large, the recurrent expenditure is large? It's worrisome. It is actually worrisome.
I think my colleague in Lagos has a few questions for you. Go ahead, Ayo.
Thank you, Kayla. You know, Honorable, I looked at your countenance in that conversation, and all I could see was just some exacerbated individual. I think maybe you have felt the feeling of 200 million Nigerians who actually rely on such institutions. But I don't know if you think that the House of Representatives or the National Assembly itself has a responsibility to bear some of the blame, if I can use that term, because they have the functions of oversight, not just on their resources, but on their performances. Don't you think so?
Well, thank you very much. I think, yes, you could think that, but I think part of the reasons why it is somewhat difficult for the National Assembly is because usually the executive could present the budget, say today, and expect you to approve it, have the budget approved and passed in 3 weeks. It has been a problem. I think it's a problem. I think the National Assembly should insist that the executive should at least present the budget 3 months before the budget is passed. That is to say, if the budget is presented around, say, September, we can take time to, perspicaciously dissect or scrutinize the content of what some of the proposals that have been made, and then we can clinically examine what we have on the table to begin to avoid all those, to begin to block all those wastages. Yes, we do perform oversights as empowered, as the National Assembly has been empowered in Section 88 of the Nigerian Constitution to do, but I do not chair any committee in the National Assembly, neither do I deputize, but I'm a member of the Appropriations Committee, so we are the ones conducting, some of these sessions very extensively. But I can tell you that apart from the time that I traveled with the Chairman of Foreign Affairs to about 15 countries in Europe to visit all our Nigerian missions, some of us engage in these oversights. We see the projects that most of these agencies are doing, like physical projects, infrastructure, roads, homes, houses, secretariats, and maybe vehicles, but we don't really, go through their books. And this is what I and so many other National Assembly members are now beginning to do, because every day we keep talking about the country not having money, that everybody should tighten their belts, but I believe there are a lot of leakages. I believe that a lot of people don't yet understand the gravity of the situation. My people say when a situation gets to its extreme measures must be taken to address such situations. I believe a lot of people do not yet understand where we are in this country. In 2025, we still do not have electricity. That's a problem. In 2025, our farmers cannot get into the markets, into their farms and farm and produce crops and sell, and that is why there's food inflation. I believe people don't yet understand the number of people that are unemployed, the number of children that are out of school. It can be business as usual. And the National Assembly understands that it can be business as usual. Like I said, I'm speaking as a person. I'm not speaking for anybody or on behalf of anybody. But I can tell you this. We, in the National Assembly, understand that the country is broke. we understand that a lot of things are not the way they ought to be. And we remain optimistic because we believe that the president means well. We believe that the policies that he's coming up, it's going to take a little time before things begin to truly metastasize itself, in the physical. But I can tell you for sure that we are ready to investigate some of these agencies, check their books, and identify those leakages and be able to block those leakages so that Nigerian people can have access to the good life that the administration has promised.
So last year, there's this report, I'm not sure if you're aware of it. The NASENI boss was addressing the press, and part of what he was saying, this was reported in November of last year, and he was saying at that forum that NASENI has produced 35 ready-for-market products, which include laptops, electric vehicles, Android tabs, CCTV, solar lights, among others, and that they're looking for bulk buyers and distributors in this new year. Were you able to verify those claims at that forum, or was it just the budget lines, or was the issue?
Well, the truth is that if NASENI has produced these things that you've mentioned, I did see in the website that they said they had produced the electric Keke tricycle. Tricycle is something that is quite unfortunate because I remember in the 70s and in the 80s when I was still a young man in primary school, I remember Nigeria as a nation used to laugh at India because India, that's where you had Keke Napepe was quite prevalent in India. It was a form of conveying people from one place to the other. Well, Nigeria was not interested because we felt as a country, we were more focused back then. We didn't adopt that concept. But today, it's a big deal. If NASENI had produced a Keke tricycle, I'm sure it would have been all over the news. We would have seen it. We would have by now, as the National Assembly, would have seen it physically. I remember the last administration, there was a time that it was rumored that very soon Nigerian Airways, or I think there was a name that was, it was called, that to soon start flying. A logo was so publicized. Logo was presented to Nigerians and it was so publicized. But today, there is no such thing. So I just want us to tell ourselves, we need to begin to tell ourselves the truth. We need to truly begin to embrace the concept of nationalism and progressivism. We cannot continue to lie to ourselves and lie to the Nigerian people. Government is supposed to be honest, and government is supposed to, tell their people the way things are. As far as I'm concerned, I stand corrected, but as far as I'm concerned, there is no such thing. Even if there were, I'm sure there are a lot of big businessmen that would want to partner with the government and produce these things, like I said, in industrial scale. Because what this country actually needs to encourage, as far as I'm concerned, is productivity, manufacturing. In a country of 200 and something million people, like I said, we don't even have electricity. How do we expect to industrialize this nation without electricity? How do we expect to strengthen the middle class without electricity? How will businesses thrive without electricity? You can buy things, raw materials from the north.
If you ask me, my apologies, Honorable. And those are questions that Nigerians will be asking the National Assembly, which thankfully and graciously you belong to at this time. So, MDAs, as Kayla highlighted to you the other time, are asking for more money, and you have confirmed that is it. That's what the issue is. One of the questions that I've asked over the years, Honorable, and I'd like to ask you, should we get to a point where we ask the MDAs, before we can give you the budget for this, you allocate the budget for this year to you, justify how you used the other one and benchmark their performance, benchmark the new budget they're asking for on the performance of the previous one? Do you think that's something that the National Assembly can or should consider?
But naturally, that is how it's supposed to be. Judging from a technocratic or entrepreneurial standpoint, if you give someone money to do something, to carry out a particular assignment, and then the person does not achieve that objective, and then the person comes back to you for more money, what do? You ask the person, how have you utilized the funds that I initially gave to you? It's a natural thing. That is how government is supposed to run. And that is why I'm saying that we need to really embrace progressivism. We need to be accountable as a nation. The funds that we are sending to these agencies are not just free funds for all. People should come out and tell us, this is what we have done with these funds. This is how we've utilized these funds. It should be confirmed, their books should be checked, and if there is any form of infraction or anomaly in that check, then we should find a way to take punitive steps to correct that infraction.
I mean, the CEO and Vice Chairman of NASENI, Khalil Halilu, sometime in December, I'm reading all the things that because what he had said was that Nigerians need to start patronizing these products that they have created. I'm just going to read out a few of them for you, if you don't mind. CNG cars, tricycles, lithium batteries, solar-powered street lights, solar irrigation pump, modern laptops, and telecoms gadgets. But they're asking, they say Nigerians are not the ones, Nigerians are not buying their products.
Because the products are not in the market. If the products are in the market and the products are cheap, Nigerians are looking for ways to save money and cut costs. As we have all been told that we should tighten our belt. If the products are locally manufactured here, it should be cheaper, because then you are averting the cost of importation, cost of clearing, cost of logistics and all. So people can quietly and seamlessly walk into the market and buy a cheaper product. But the products are not there. That is the point. These things are being said, but we need to see action. Actionable steps must be taken for us to confirm that these things quite exist.
Your colleagues seem to agree with you when you called for that investigation into 5 years of NASENI. They acquiesced. They agreed with you.
Correct.
So what happens next? What investigation? Is it the National Assembly that's going to investigate it? What kind of investigation do you want?
Well, that goes to show you the disposition of National Assembly members. We've been called rubber stamp. There's nothing that we've not been called. But the truth is, it is not a bad thing for the legislature, another arm of government, to try to diplomatically work with other arms of government. We are all partners in progress. So when people say, oh, you people are rubber stamp, no, we don't want to be fighting with the executive. It doesn't just, they say when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. So basically, the kind of investigation that we intend to conduct is that which will, of course, a motion has been moved, and because that motion has been moved, definitely that investigation is going to take place. Maybe after the budget, budget has been passed.
Yes.
Of course, there will still be corrigendums and all whatnot. Then we will now engage the chairman of the committee, Taifik, can decide to form a subcommittee that will investigate NASENI, or can decide to form the National Assembly itself, the Speaker can decide to form an ad hoc committee that will clinically begin to look into the books of NASENI.
Well, good luck with that. We'll be watching to see how the investigations pan out and what the results of those investigations will be. That's something that we'll be very interested in.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to thank you very much, Honorable Alex Ikwechegh, for being with us on the program, a member of the House of Representatives, Aba North and South Federal Constituency.
Thank you very much for having me.
We have a message here, Professor Imonoka Enakena. He says, on Farotimi versus Afe Babalola, I think he means to say, posterity is a fair judge. Retrospectively, posterity always has a lot of surprises in store for everyone. For good or ill, it is a woven belief of every man who has dared the gods, even though right when murdered will be vindicated by posterity. An awful privilege and an awful responsibility that we should help to create the world in such posterity will live and not be murdered. It's a lot there. Thank you so much, Prof. Aya, what have you got?
Well, Law Alpha Cross has this one. Are Babalola has proven to be a true statesman, an embodiment of respect and honor by according recognition to the highly revered Yoruba traditional institution. Let who wishes to criticize tread the path of truth and mutuality. Well, that's Law Alpha Cross, and that's the way we bring the program to an end today. Thank you so much for the privilege of being a part of your morning. I'm Ayo Makinde. Do have a beautiful and productive day.
I'm Kayla Megwa. Have a great day ahead.